Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And it's Friday again, guys, so we're going to get to this. First up tonight is Cletus. Hey,
Hey,
Cletus,
William,
how's it
thank
going?
you. It's pretty good. I'm gonna read a few poems. Sorry, I'm kind of faint of voice. Um, but I deactivated my Twitter. Just it was making me sad, kind of depressed. But I miss it. But yeah, it's a weird thing. I was like, I'm gonna do all these cool things now that I don't have Twitter. But that's not really happening. But this poem's kind of about that. So this is called I Deactivated X, formerly known as Twitter. I haven't looked at the sky in years. The most effective sunsets are seen while walking out of Walmart. Mundane mixes with miracle, then you get our semi-charmed life. Dad's orgasm was that powerful. I wrote a book about herbal supplements. Fuck Obama's music list and every opinion on AI art. No one's out to get me anymore. Time to perfect my recently invented perpetual motion machine. There isn't pain outside this window. Maybe you hate America. I'm learning night moves on piano. The world's more eggshell than oyster, but it's still an aphrodisiac. I'm baking garlic bread just for fun. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple of poems now from phallic symbols. Um, it's probably going to be out in like summer, probably May. Jeff is publishing the collection. Thank you, Jeff. Um, and here are a couple of poems from it. This is Hike with Erectile Dysfunction. 5 flailing oak trees stiffen toward the boy blue sky. Their trunks lean like naked men in gym locker rooms. Each branch varies in length, shape, and size. Each leaf is an averted eye. It's this spear I wield, his skin-thin divining rod, stumbling through forest soft. His flaccid flesh hangs low, like my head in frost-bitten hands. This is a dream. Our cat is flying, our dicks are huge, but the dream is about the crucifixion. We keep waiting for Jesus to come back. Jesus seldom comes back. So we raise our kid in dreamscape where our cat is flying, our dicks are huge, but the dream ends with gnashing teeth. When I wake up, Jesus sleeps soundly on the screened porch. Our dicks are small. This one's called Seasonal Allergies. Asshat arborists mostly plant male trees. Population management because life can't happen without paperwork. The trees are horny. They pollinate my eyes. Yellow cum covers my car and everything else. Someone drew a smiley face on the windshield. Someone drew a penis. Someone wrote, I love you on both headlights. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Cletus, I want to talk about the first poem first because first of all, you have all but sold me on the idea of just getting off of social media. Like that poem alone may have broken my social media addiction because it's so, listen, it's not a entirely optimistic poem, right? But by the standards of the poetry you usually write, it's like borderline idyllic, right? Like the idea of being able to recapture some bit of the life that you lose every day to the vacuum of social media is so I don't know, it's so tempting. It's such a seductive idea. And I love the way you present it here because you present it as like a series of small moments, a series of small, like discrete pleasures, instead of as like some screed against the evils of social media or its psychological effects. Instead, it's like, here are all the tiny things you're being robbed of. Making garlic bread for no reason but to do it. The fucking Walmart sunset line is so beautiful because it's true. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like something about the openness of a Walmart parking lot or the particular arrangement of like the overhead lights that are there. But there really is something like unique about being in front of Walmart or some suburban strip mall and watching the sun go down. Now, the phallic symbols poems. I think a couple of these you've read at Misery Loves Company before, but it's really interesting to see these three poems together and presented as part of that collection because, like, when you hear the title of that collection, right, phallic symbols, you think this is going to be a bunch of, like psychoanalytic sex poems or whatever. But instead, these three poems are like so fundamentally different in tone, in style, and in how they explore that theme. Like you can see the phallic symbols present in each of these poems, right? But they are so fantastically different in their approach. The first one is like this this surreal landscape of dicks, basically. Right? It's like it's an atmospheric, surreal kind of piece. It's very much like about sketching out this landscape. And then like the third piece is about like the consequences of only plant or primarily planting male trees. And the second piece is actually like a fairly like psychoanalytic piece or at least psychological piece since it's a dream sequence. And the way that they all explore that central theme in fantastically different approaches is think really interesting, excuse me, and I'm excited to read the collection. And I plan to soon, since I'm supposed to get you a blurb for it in the not too distant future.
Thank you, William. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, man. You man, great work as usual. Still, hey Jeff, if it saves us both some work, you can have it. uh, and Josh is up next.
Sure. So I'm gonna continue. Sorry, just feeling a bit sick, so my voice is kind of whatever. But I'm just gonna continue the auto portrait. I think I left off at I finished 8 last time, chapter 8. So I'm gonna start with chapter 9. Chapter 8 ended with no, I won't attend your solstice party. So starting here. A veggie platter is all I'm bringing to the potluck. Sickness returns me to a childlike state, a state I'd like to return to more often. Sometimes I think up eulogies for my family and friends so that when the time eventually comes, I can totally crush it at their funerals. Beyond cocaine, my recreational drug use has included smoking weed, doing ketamine and MDMA, and taking Adderall, Percocet, and Valium, none of which I enjoyed anywhere near how much I enjoyed cocaine. I don't wear a helmet when I ride a bike. When friends and family object to this, I cite a dubious study that found motorists drive more aggressively around cyclists who are wearing protective gear. I'll slap and choke a woman in bed if that's what she wants, though it's not something I'd think to do without encouragement. My sister is 16 years my junior, meaning I basically grew up as an only child. I have a penchant for novelty t-shirts. Some of my best ones include a white one with the Dunkin' Donuts logo printed on the front, except instead of Dunkin' Donuts, it says Don DeLillo, as well as a black one that says make big money writing poems in bold blue font on the chest and work from home $signs on the back. A birthmark on my left earlobe makes it look like I've had my ear pierced. Unfortunately, I serially cheated on the 39-year-old professor who taught at the college I was enrolled in journalism at. Unfortunately, one of the women I serially cheated on the 39-year-old professor who taught at the college I was enrolled in journalism at was the schizophrenic woman who tried to destroy my life. I order off the kids' menu at restaurants. I'll have the chicken fingers and fries, please. I hold the door open for women. I should have read more of the Toronto Star issues I received from the subscription my mom bought me to celebrate my acceptance into Humber College Institute of Technology and Advanced Learning's journalism program, but I found her enthusiasm for my studies really touching. I had a severe and prolonged case of athlete's foot as a kid. It was like my feet were molting. I go paddleboarding on calm summer days. On calm summer days, I call paddleboarding waterboarding, which sounds like a very different activity. I pick my nose when no one's watching, though I never ate anything I picked when I was a kid. I manipulated a gay man I met online playing chess into buying me an MP3 around 2010. The song was AKA JK, Someone Out There, Runaway Remix. I'm notoriously weak at Scrabble, which is frustrating. Because I'm a writer, people expect me to be adept at the game. Yeah, given my fear of flying, I do realize that I should be more afraid of the possibility of being involved in a car accident. Semiotext followed me back on Twitter. Watching survivalist shows like Alone further convinces me that if left in the wild, I would die before I could kill an animal because even if I could figure out how to go about killing an animal, I wouldn't kill an animal. I take rejection in stride. I only eat apples and slices. I appreciate a good cheap shot. I've been accused of weaponizing my own incompetence, and it's true, that is something I do. There's a fair chance I'm the greatest living writer within my postal code. I'm the kind of guy who will try and work the word niggardly into a conversation just so he can explain that actually the word dates back to Middle English and is not etymologically related to the N-word. Brutalism is an underrated style of architecture, if you ask me. Nobody has cucked me, though arguably I've cucked myself many times. I wore pork pie hats, not fedoras, during my ska phase. I have a terrible bedside manner. I swish mouthwash excessively. I'm curious, is Classifying the Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank autofiction and active anti-Semitism or not? My favorite color is mustard yellow or like ochre. I respect the wood, so I always use a coaster and insist others do too. I respect Guy Fieri. I dodge a draft, no questions asked. I'd rather be hated than ignored. One morning, I woke up with my pants wet, thinking I'd finally pissed myself due to alcohol abuse, but in reality, I'd fallen asleep with an open Margaritaville cooler, which had spilled overnight. The chorus Feminazi, which was musically the catchiest song that I wrote for my high school punk band, went, "Feminism is division. We'll never achieve equality with you, you feminazi." Without fail, I'll eat an entire package of Mentos in one sitting. I can't control myself. Twice, I've rented apartments on Lansdowne Avenue, and I'd like to live there again someday if possible. It's 6:09 p.m. on Friday, January 12th, 2024, and I just told my opponent on chess.com that if I hadn't blundered by clicking on the wrong square, I would have, quote, rocked your bottom, unquote. I trash talk a lot in chess. I'm often brutally honest in my responses to the question, "How are you?" which undoubtedly makes those who ask me regret their decision to do so. It frustrates me when people say that I resemble Shane McGowan of the Pogue solely on the basis that we both have bad teeth. It's like saying every fat person looks like Chris Farley or something. I feel like my biological clock is ticking, but for publishing my first book. I gladly signed a waiver at the Rogers Center on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, so that I could take home free food from the media event I was attending. The venue didn't want to be held accountable if the food made me sick later, and I've already mentioned I'm totally shameless. I spent $11,819.26 on restaurants and dining in 2023, according to a year-end email from my bank that I didn't ask for. I can't crack my knuckles either. My mom cuts my hair. Shut up, she's a hairstylist who owns a salon. And then just chapter 10. Believe it or not, I'm a good listener. I'm a card-carrying member of the Canadian Chess Federation. There was a time when I wore deep V-neck t-shirts. Lyme disease doesn't especially concern me. I received first-degree burns on my wrist one time preparing a microwavable container of pho noodles. I laugh when I'm nervous or uncomfortable, which sometimes makes things worse. I trust brand names. Holding my shit in has always felt so good, always. This means that when I was a kid, before I learned that you can resist impulses, sort of, I wouldn't shit for several days, and when I did, usually I would shit out huge hard logs that my mom had to cut with a knife so they wouldn't clog the toilet. I harbor deep-seated resentment for my sister because of the way she emancipated herself from my mom. It's a crazy story. I'll tell you about it sometime. Preliminary internet research suggests my dick size is in the top 2 percentile of all dicks, so I won't trim my pubes, and this refusal must hamper the overall impression somewhat. When I was too sick to go to school, my grandmother would rub ointment on my forehead. Then she would pray. Onion rings are superior to fries, I think. I'm interested in urban planning. I view the act of writing autofiction and the act of sculpting as similar processes. Like sculpting and autofiction, you're dealing with the so-called raw material of life, cringe, and carving it into a form that suits you. My twink-like appearance throughout my 20s convinced many people, including women I wanted to fuck, that I was gay. I'd like to think that I'm above slapstick comedy, but I'm not. It's funny when people fall down, are hit with objects, etc. The other night, January 13th, 2024, I asked my friend Milos, what are ethics anyways? He instantly replied, applied morals, which impressed me. He explained that he's thought about the question a lot, and of course I haven't. I can be cloying with waitstaff. I don't donate to charitable organizations, but on occasion give spare change and food to the homeless. I don't have very hairy arms or legs. Asian pussy doesn't seem any tighter to me. I have killed a cactus by overwatering and a succulent through lack of sunlight, though overall I keep my plants alive and healthy. They never should have let me and Joel Gilbert Anderson work together at the grocery store as teenagers. We were supposed to collect all the shopping carts and keep the entrance clean, but we just hide in the buggy corral. There was a way you could sit in the cart so your legs and head were invisible from the store and eat gummies and talk shit. Eventually, the manager stopped scheduling us for the same shifts. I've been to Florida 5 or 6 times. My batteries go straight to the landfill. I had an idea for a pool hopping app called Hopper without the vowels. I had an idea for a chain of soft serve ice cream shops called Soft Boys, BOIZ. I had an idea for a marketing campaign for 7-Eleven. It featured an enticing photo of Big Gulps in a variety of flavors. I thought Fruitopia, Strawberry Passion, Mountain Dew, Orange Crush, and Brisk Lemonade would work, accompanied by the slogan in all caps, the original thirst trap. I've lived in 6 neighborhoods: Morningside, German Mills, Brown Ridge, Old Thornhill, Little Portugal, and the Upper Beach. If it were up to me, it'd be illegal to manufacture duvet covers with buttons instead of zippers. My duvet cover keeps coming undone when I sleep. I saw Olivia Chow, Toronto 66 mayor, at a rave. There's no refractory period after I come. Genuine seeming feelings of nostalgia for experiences I've never had can overwhelm me. I organize my bookshelves inconsistently. Multiple books by the same author are found beside each other, but there are some larger overarching groupings sorted by publisher, say, or complementary spine colors. I run red lights and ride the wrong way on one-way streets when I'm on my bike. Me and my Jewish friends would run through the high school halls singing Pulling on the Boots, the song from Romper Stomper that goes, make it to the laneway waiting for the scum, smash their yellow faces, kick their fucking bum. When they plead for mercy, we will show them none. Skinhead, till the job is done. I'm a messy eater. On TTC buses, I take the window seat on the left-hand side of the elevated platform above the rear wheel, if it's available. I've hooked up with someone 14 years my senior and someone 13 years my junior. I'm not a bow tie man. Bow ties are such a lazy way to try and set yourself apart. I can't imagine there's a dignified way to push a shopping cart down the street. Viewing footage of Earth from the International Space Station gives me vertigo, as does standing up from my seat at a stadium. If nothing else, I'd like to leave behind a mixtape of classic 90s house music. It would include 25 tracks. Raf DJ, Hey Girl, Club Mix. Daphne, When You Love Someone, Club Mix. TC Crew, The Key. Jason AJ Summers, In Life. Michael Watford, So Into You, Macho Camacho dub. The Wild Child Experience, First Things First, original mix. Expressive Sound, Real Vibration, Want Love, Real Club Mix. Stephanie Cook, Holding On to Your Love, Mood to Swing dub. Kenny Glasgow, Hold On Me, Doubly Till Dawn. Romanthony, Trust, Carrie Chandler dub. Moody Man, Tribute. Instinct, Mind Search. Shay Damier, I Never Knew Love, Made in Detroit mix. Teflon Dons, Movements in the Opium Den, Rest on Edit. Unit 2, Sunshine, Shine On mix. Frankie Knuckles featuring Roberta Gillum, Workout 1992 vocal mix. Freestyle Orchestra, Odyssey. Station Q, That Special Melody, club mix. Full Moon, Hallelujah, hard vibes. Kim Sims, Take My Advice, Maurice's Underground mix. Carrie Chandler, Bar of Time. Westworld, Dream World. CM Tony, Rhythm Tonight. Scotty Deep presents Daddy's Moods, About You, drama mix. Alex M, It Works. That's it.
Josh, I continue to love what you're doing with this evolving piece. This was a this felt like a punchier and kind of pithier couple of chapters, which is to say that it's a lot there are a lot more of the observation punchline kind of pieces in this one, which I appreciate because it's something you do very, very well. There, so many of these are these like sharp, hooked little statements that catch you off guard and really, really like tear you open in one way or another. I will say it's incredible to me that you can have a piece of writing that has both your like poop anecdote and that line you had about having nostalgia for things you've never experienced in like the same chapter in the same document that you can this format seems uniquely well suited for allowing you to do that, right? For allowing you to be disarming in not just one way, but in like a kaleidoscopic like collection of different ways. And I will say I also dig like your willingness to get like really self-indulgent here. Like I love the fact that you put your like hypothetical um mixtape basically of best techno tracks of the 90s or whatever it was in here. Like that's like teenage behavior and I have to respect it, right? That is a level of mental insularity and like you know what I'm saying, Josh? Like that's exactly what a piece like this, what a work like this can do that most fiction or auto fiction or even memoir is like terrified to touch. Like that willingness to get into the like deeply self-indulgent little corners of our minds and opinion. Like I don't know, man, that it rocks. And I hope you feel better too.
Thanks. No, I'm glad I read it though, because you always kind of reinvigorate or whatever my own interest in the project. Because when you talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. And yeah, these two were meant to be more, yeah, they were meant to be more concise because I have some kind of not gimmicks, but there was a chess kind of move thing in the previous one. And so I kind of wanted to re-establish the more kind of conventional approach I was trying to take to leave room for some more kind of experimental stuff later. Maybe next week I'll read from. Thanks.
Oh, also one quick thing. I like the like conversational way you like foreshadow the fact that you're going to get into the story about your sister later in the piece. Like it's way a lot of writing, longer works of writing will like self-consciously foreshadow, ooh, we're going to talk about this later. And it's often like um it it's often so obvious in the way in its approach and so coy that it like takes you out of it, and I like the way that you lampshade that by making it part of the like larger conversational approach of the whole piece, right? Like so it doesn't feel like the author is like withholding information. It feels like the author is just talking to you about random shit and happens to mention a thing and it's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll bring that up later. I don't know. I that stuck out at me and I enjoyed that. Anyway, Josh, good
Thanks.
shit as usual, man.
Thanks. Thanks, Aaron.
And Allison is up next. And Allison, I think this is your first time reading at Misery Loves Company, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Josh, for introducing me to this and for you all for having me. Okay, I guess I'll get started. This is called Practices in Loss Prevention, and it's just about being lonely in LA. When I underline a sentence in a book, I must make the line extend from the first letter to the final punctuation. To leave a letter ununderlined would be letting it fall. I do not push the gas pedal hard when my car and I drive up the 2 North because I remember being made to run faster than I could and do not want to pass that on to my Honda Civic. I smile at people on my walks so we may both imagine, for a few seconds, we are not in LA. I smile at fast food workers so they know I appreciate them as the intermediary between myself and Fountain Diet Coke. Deciding what to give away of my belongings has always been emotional. These 2 sweaters spent a lot of time together. I don't want to do this. The books on shelves I haven't yet read are talking about me like I'm negligent or something. What will one book do without this other one, having been pressed together for so long? The friend who does not call me as much anymore doesn't know I'm crying about it because I don't tell him. He has stuff to be sad about. I do not want to infect him with mine. I must finish all my food because what if the unfinished part gets lonely and can feel the cold? Ordering and not eating all of it feels like having a kid and abandoning it. Learning to match my cat's pitch took several months, but is worth it if, when I meow back, she feels understood. The friend I used to live with moved out while I was away. I thanked her repeatedly when she said she was leaving the TV and square dining table we bought together at a flea market. 9 things that hurt your cat's feelings came up in my YouTube suggestions, and now I clean her bowl every evening, tap my nose to hers. I write my 8s as 2 circles at 24 years old because my teacher forbade it when I was 4. On the occasion that the circles miss each other, I quickly draw the infinity 8 over them until they connect, so the shock of being separated is minimized. As concerned as I am with things being broken or left behind, I will often leave a sentence without its proper subject, some vague placeholder, ensuring the line never quite reaches maturity. However, this is probably the kindest thing I could ever do to a sentence, to anything. It retains its beauty as something unrefined and transient and full of possibility, like any post from a Liminal Spaces Instagram account. 7 years ago, I read on a P.F. Chang's menu that it's bad manners to have your chopsticks pointing at someone at the table while they're set on your plate. I appreciate booths for this reason. Walls do not often take offense. I used to do everything with a friend I used to live with. We took turns rolling spliffs and watching TV we wouldn't have watched without the other. Our grand gesture was driving each other to the major airport. What to hate more, the cliche of her getting a boyfriend and leaving me behind, or the boyfriend, or the leaving. I go so far as to add heart emojis when thanking her for the TV. Remember me as a heart emoji, the 2 that fly in a circle. The friend who does not call me much anymore calls me one last time from their airport, from which they will fly even further away from me. We are so cordial, I start crying. He used to know when I was doing that. He's either pretending not to know or has forgotten how to. He doesn't mean to be out of touch, he says. He didn't mean to stop replying. The kind of goodbye that forgets to be said. I think about hitting animals with my car so often that I do not deserve to have it actually happen. If I keep thinking about it, I will have hit hundreds of animals in my head, perhaps lessening the chances of hitting one for real. I endure all the potential death to avoid the real ones. When I pick up a book for the second time, there are several underlines stopping short of the punctuation. What happened back then to root me so well in life that I didn't need to play in the imaginary? Thanking the friend who moved out for leaving the TV and table is something I regret. I was really doing her the favor by taking them. There's no place for flea market things or small TVs in our mutual friend's penthouse into which she and the boyfriend are moving. I didn't realize that in taking the Roku, I was relinquishing the friend group. I think of the friend who moved out and the friend who does not call me anymore at the same time. Going the speed limit, I'm cheating despair. I'm moving forward while overwhelmingly stagnant. We reach an incline, my Civic and I'm forced to remember that I cannot relieve my depression on this drive without causing detriment to something else, something as innocent and needless as my Civic. It doesn't breathe heavy when we reach the top. In the drive-thru, I order an amount of food that will make me full and warm but will not be wasted. If nacho cheese had feelings, I imagine it would always be happy. All these practices, I throw away the food bag in my trash at home, so at least it will be discarded somewhere familiar where it will see me intermittently before going away forever. The end.
Allison, that was fucking marvelous. This is such a fantastic piece. First of all, I love pieces that like interrogate our relationship with inanimate objects, right? Like, and this piece is so like delicate and so effective in the way that it looks at these like weird parasocial relationships we develop not with other human beings but with like the things around us that we that can't even think or feel, right? But the way that we project our feelings, our emotions, our fears, our anxieties onto onto inanimate objects, onto our pets, onto even, and this was a wonderful part of your piece, like onto even language itself, onto sentences. I loved the section about like how it's a gift to leave sentences incomplete in this kind of liminal space. First of all, because like that's reflective of my own like deeply pathological writing style, where it's just like any given document is just a list of unfinished sentences, because like where I'm straining towards like hoping really for the right word to complete them. But like it's so wonderful the way you reframe that as being like a gift to the sentence itself, a gift to language, as opposed to like a failing of the writer, right? And there are so many, and the like scope of what, like the intellectual and emotional scope of what you're doing here keeps growing throughout the piece, like from just being about your car and your possessions to being about language and then to being about like being about imaginary animals that you like see yourself hitting out of some like like anxious, like pathological kind of intrusive thought. And like the way that universe of like unreal things keeps like growing and growing throughout the piece, it's a marvelous piece. It's really effective, and I think if you look in the chat you'll find that just about everyone here loved it just as much as I did. Oh, and I love the title. The title is so good. To use the term loss prevention in a piece that is I like simultaneously about like the loss and fracturing of human relationships, and also like the loss of like prevention in its more traditional sense, like the loss of physical objects and the like value assessment assigned to that. I don't know, it's a beautiful title. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah, thank you.
And Artie, oh, and thank you, Josh, for inviting Allison, and thank you, Allison, for coming. I hope you'll come back sometime in the future. And
Thank
Artie,
you for thanking me, William.
well, I knew you would watch me thank Josh. Okay, all right, okay. Artie is up next.
Oh, is that me?
Hey,
Hey.
Artie.
How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, good. Chilling. So I guess I'm presenting. I thought I'd read more or less just some more material from the last novel I was reading, which is called My Wall. Um, so should I go?
Yeah, absolutely. You can launch right into it.
Excellent. I'm just gonna read you a sort of short excerpt from somewhere near the middle of the book. Writing progress is positive lately. Josie will let me sit and write as long as I like. Often she just watches me, smokes her Benson Hedges, occasionally asks me to read a bit out, which I sometimes oblige. I'll suddenly have to shut up. How long have we been fucking now? It's April. Her boyfriend proposed to her, but she declined. Would she have accepted if not for me? I don't care. She's not my girlfriend. We're just fucking. We're more or less living in my room. Piles of pizza boxes and curry trays, cans and bottles of beer and soda. She only stays over occasionally, but she's certainly left a mark on the place. A lost weekend, perhaps. She doesn't smoke weed as a rule. It makes her anxious, although I can still convince her to, and then make fun of her when she gets freaked out. What's the worst thing I've done? Oh, God. What do you think is the worst crime? Killing a kid? Killing a baby? I've yet to kill a baby. They're always in the care of their mothers. I've tried, mostly when I was young. I wanted to throw one out the window, but the opportunity never came. The possibility of success always too narrow. So what's the worst thing that I have ever done? You can take your pick, really. Maybe wiping out that family. I'm still processing it. It was truly beautiful every second, beautiful and hideous, to be so actively within life and death, motion and thought, without hesitation. I moved. There is something greater in me, something fast and painless. I am an angel of death. I was born only to do this. It's my purpose. That it is that it is at odds with all other life is no fault of mine. I tried to hold it in, but the bloodlust comes over me again and again. Closer, I already feel close to killing Josie. Not even by my own fault. Not even hers either. I just start wondering what it'd be like to just cut open her breasts and see what they're like inside. You know, see how Josie really works from the inside. How does Josie function? Dissecting that Mitch Connor boy in my university dorm room bathroom was the closest I ever came to feeling divine up close. It sickened me. Yet I went on long after his death, seeing how it all came apart until there was nothing left. Things I wish I could have done with the mother, her son, and that stray kid. I wanted them all scattered, smeared, splattered, plastered, all complete together as one, on the walls and the floor, way upon whence it was possible. But London is capricious. A stray moment too long and disaster will find you. The sounds that bodies make as you cut them open, the colors they hide. The moment just before that runaway reached the front door, all of it caught in time, I will forever be there in that sacred moment, finalizing the lives of those I find upon my path. I was trying to quit. Maybe I still am. How long can I truly get away with it? London, the heart of crime. I know my limits. I can do this all day, but there's always a chance of catastrophe. Play with fire and get burned. The flame may consume you, but you have to temper it, or else you will just be another scorched animal in a cell. I either quit or I ramp it up. I see how far I can take it. What am I capable of? What will finally make me unworthy of Angela's love? Could I kill a girl like her? Am I capable of that? I have no barriers, but do I want to? No, I don't know. It feels too far even for me. I've interfered with plenty of girls, but they're all clueless preteens. Killing one, it goes against everything I stand for. So I feel I need to surpass this. God, could I? The bus swerves left, sitting next to Angela, Josie, holding her hand discreetly and staring at this girl sitting adjacent, not trying to hide my smitten nature. Her mother next to her. I'm gazing at the soft blonde hairs and the soft blonde hairs under Dolly's legs, the little bumps barely hidden by her pink vest, a sheaf of golden hair, golden brows, golden soft hair on her cheeks, arms. I need to hold her. I need to eat her. I need to cut her apart and see how she works. Hurts to look at her. It's almost headache inducing. To hell with anyone who sees this. I am witnessing a living miracle. This'll be nice, won't it? Says Josie, idly. Yeah, I guess, I say. How long since you last saw Roy? I say. Probably when me and you were together, she says. Been a long time. I bet he's still an asshole, I say. Josie juggles. She gets me to kiss her on the bus. I push her into the glass, as I like to, making sure that I even squeeze her tit. Oh my god, Alan, she giggles. I smile to myself. When we get to the pub, Julian, Damien, Roy are already there. Lovebird, says Roy. What the fuck is going on, guys? You're in a black casual suit, red tie partially loosened. Dude's about my height. I'm 5'11". Short dark brown hair. The sullen yet forced perky smile of a CEO. Hey Roy, says Josie. Good to see you, Josephine. How's the kid? I don't have a kid, she laughs. Yeah, but you might have had one. Clock ticking? Roy laughs. Damien laughs along. Hi, Arlen, says Julian. I smile at him. So, Arlen Grozer, says Roy. The fuck are you doing now? Selling hot dogs? No, I'm working on some writing. Always with the words, man. Well, I like it. You getting paid for it? Or are you sucking up all of my tax money? On benefits? Alan's between jobs, says Josie. I stare at her incredulously. Of course, says Roy. Well, keep your chin up, old boy. You two still fucking then? No. Me and Josie aren't involved. We broke up 7 years ago. That's how long it's been? Shit, says Roy. I know, says Damien. Fucking mad how time passes. What have you been doing, Roy? Asked Josie. Kicking ass, taking names, says. Hiring and firing. I'm executive branch manager at El Frato Limited. Living in Greenwich. Got a great place. Overlooking the river. I got married 3 years ago to my beautiful wife, Nora. Things have been great. Tight, says Julian. That's a good look. That's a good sorry. That's a good location. I looked at a flat around there. Was it facing the river, says Roy? No, says Julian. Probably wasn't, but even if it was, probably half the price of my place. Roy's drinking martini. He asks Josie how her life's going. Acts like he's listening to her when he's probably thinking about fucking her. He always had a crush on her in school. Josie groans on about a shitty life. Roy gets around for us all. So he says, do you hear about that gnarly murder? That family that got massacred? Yeah, says Josie. It's upsetting to think about. Those 2 kids. Senseless, says Roy. They don't even move. I've been following the true crime net. One of the most savage recent attacks in London history. Yeah, but I say, for Christ's sake, who cares? Everyone goes quiet. I mean, like, you know how often that kind of shit happens in the third world? We're so cold in the West that we freak out about any violence, even slightly above the norm. And, by the way, do you even know how many people die by knife crime in London every year? Or how many died of COVID? Yeah, but, this is like Ted Bundy shit. Doesn't the mystery and the horror turn you on, says Roy? That's gross, says Josie. How can something like that turn you on? I don't get sanctimonious with me. Ms. White Woman. I bet you're always listening to podcasts about ladies getting stalked and killed. It doesn't excite me. says Josie, slightly guiltily. Everyone's turned on by sex and murder, says Roy. I know I am. Look, all I'm saying is, we might have a real monster on our hands here. The family annihilator isn't going to stop here. You think that was even his first time? This guy's a real sicko. Maybe the next Jack the Ripper. Like, we're talking like real fundamental shit here. How do you know it's a guy? I say. Of course it's a guy. Or a guy in a dress. A transsexual. Or gender person. Or whatever they're calling mental illness these days. Josie tuts. Roy continues. No woman is capable of that. There's a guy, some queer, who got fucking beheaded in Soho recently. That kind of brutality, same guy. You listen to the Devil's List podcast, they made the connection. What the fuck, I think. You can't do anything now without some cunt on a podcast blabbing. It's a load of shit, I find myself saying. Serial killers don't exist like that anymore in England. People online will say anything to scare their listeners into tuning back in. I think it's sod theory, says Rory. What about that guy in Manchester they never caught? For all we know, he's still out there. Somewhere. He's staring at me, smiling. That was never conclusive, I say, and look away. Roy rags on Damien for working at Subway. Rather than a yuppie scumbag like you, says Damien with a grin. You turned into a real piece of shit. Wasn't I always, says Roy? Don't be jealous of true class. Hey, maybe I'll get you to make a sculpture for my flat or something. You know, something African chic or a Hindu god or one of those big titted elephant bitches. Roll the arms. Around 10, Roy leaves. Work, he says. Great to leave. Great catch-all. Do it again sometime? Let's not leave it another 7 years. I'll call you. I leave with Josie. I mean Angela. No, I mean Josie. Not long after. Julian glares at me as I leave. Bye-bye. Take Josie home and fuck her until she's squealing. She's staying the night. She gets hungry at midnight. I coerced her into getting really high as well as really drunk. And she's dealing with it well. By God, she needs McDonald's. We're drinking Polish beers from a corner shop. For a strange moment, I think I'm about to feel happy, but then like a sneeze that never comes, I'm left blue-balled. Still, I snuggle into Josie and kiss her and feel like great tits. Josie Goodhead gives good head. It is what used to be written around the school bathrooms. Well, Josie was not a slut. She was total virgin until we started fooling around. But her name is entirely apt. In fact, she gives excellent head. That I'm on the receiving end is just a small pleasure to be thankful for. But she doesn't suck my dick tonight. I don't want her greasy burger smeared lips all over my piece. She's so drunk that she says, I love you, Arlen. Silence. I look away from her and sigh. I love you, she says. Okay, I say. Okay. Yeah? Why are you like this? She mutters. I'm sorry, I say. I don't mean to be like this. I'm empty, Josie. I felt empty for a long time, even when we were together before. But now it's so much more acute. The absolute nothingness of existence, what waste of skin we are. I'm sorry that I'm like this, but I can't control it. Don't you even remember the abuse that you suffered at my hands? Don't you? She's quiet and settled. I can feel her prickle. It's okay, she says eventually. She places her hand on mine. It's okay because I see you, Arlen. Even if it's hard to admit what you feel, even if you feel guilty for ways that you were in the past, I see who you are now. No, you don't, I say. In fact, you don't see an inch of me. I'm a ghost. If you knew me, you'd fly screaming mad into the night. She strokes my face. You'd even complicate, she says. She kisses me. You don't need to tell me you love me. I can feel it. Feel my cold, dead heart, bitch. All I eat is junk food now. My constitution is settled for the past week. Other than once having to remove a hairball from my throat. The hair was silver and draped in a mucus I thought too shiny to be my own. Nobody notices these parts of me, the true disgust of my existence. I listen to true crime podcasts. They narrate my deeds in somber tones before announcing a hot new ad. They often refer to me as a butcher. No, my work is far more refined. I am an angel.
Artie, I am really digging this. I'm glad we get to hear more of this novel because whenever you read it, I'm more captivated by it. I love how deeply you get inside this character's head. Like you and that you're willing to get inside his head at mundane times, right? It's not simply like trying to capture the psychology of what like drives him to kill or whatever. It's you're willing to get inside the head of this psychopathic character at mundane, everyday moments of his life and to watch how he responds and to see like the deficit that's there, like the vacuum that's there in his interactions with other people. I also really dig your willingness to engage with like the contemporary like phenomenon surrounding this, like talking about true crime podcasts and stuff. Like a lot of fiction about serial killers, even like contemporary attempts to wrestle with it, are very rooted in like the 90s idea of like what serial killer pop culture is, right? And here you have like multiple moments and dialogues that are dealing with like what that means now. Like, what is the discourse about that actually like in this moment when like YouTube and podcasts have really reshaped the way we consume that kind of content and the way it's covered. And you do a really phenomenal job, I think, of digging into that. And even the way people talk about it, like the way that now like that stuff is mixed up with like the larger politicized discourse about gender and the like and the like weird campy like true crime subculture and all that. It's really interesting stuff and I really appreciate your willingness to like go off on those detours and to examine that the cultural stuff in real depth too. So it's good stuff, Artie. Good stuff. Thank you. And Rudy's up next.
Hi. Um, so I have a
Yeah.
couple poems and I have a short story. This first poem is called Fight Haven Triptych, or can I get a free at Fight Haven sub on Birdsite for writing this poem? Part 1. Female student puts on brass knuckles and force feeds her male classmate a 3-piece and a biscuit for talking reckless. People were calling her the next Khabib. She's been waiting for the opportune moment to eliminate her 62-year-old teacher from the gene pool. She ran up on her boyfriend and punched him. Then he proceeds to body slam her into a seizure. Dude starts beating his girlfriend during a live stream, but quickly ends up on the floor in a puddle of tears. Feel sorry for this young man. What would you do? Part 2. A top flight security guard of the world takes on 4 dudes all by himself, like a Terminator. Is that a security guard or a T-1000? Philadelphia Eagle fan gets terminated in front of his wife on the subway. Was this justified? Part 3. Texas couple fires off shots at a car with a baby in the back seat during a road rage incident. I have so many questions. Justified, self-defense, or murder? And those are all taken from titles of Fight Haven videos, by the way. This next one, just a little disclaimer. I live in Malone, New York. I'm currently in Malone, New York. I'm nowhere near the AWP Writers Conference, and this is not a threat against the AWP Writers Conference. This is called AWP Offsite Event. That's a picture of Counter-Strike Go, I think. For one only, meet fellow writers through the looking glass of an Arctic warfare police bolt-action sniper rifle that resuscitates the career of anyone struck above the legs. And this is some kind of threat. And professional writing is a vibrant medium. This next one is a little story that I wrote. It's based on this tweet that had something to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the current one going on. I wish Josh Sherman was here to hear this, because this one is written particularly for Josh Sherman. But I also shout this out to Johnny Hollywood, because it's written sort of in the style of that Johnny Hollywood perfected with his brilliance and whatnot. So yeah, so here it is. This is called A Feel-Good Story from the Israeli-Palestinian Conflict. Once upon a time, there were a lot of dead bodies in the Al Shifa hospital. There were all different shapes and sizes, because that's how people are, and dead bodies were once people. Also, the process of decomposition is kind of quirky, and bodies might swell up or bloat at different rates. The hospital director was like, darn, there are a lot of bodies here, and wound up putting the bodies into places where they didn't really fit in, like basements, parking garages, and cramped closets. This made everybody really sad. Then one day, the Israeli army came and brought all the bodies somewhere in a big yellow taxi. The body taxi. But where did they bring them? To the body party, that's where. The body party is a big pit where all the dead bodies can rub shoulders and mosh and do whatever they want and decompose, and nobody can really say nay. At the body party, the bodies were cavorting and vibing real close to each other. Two bodies, a boy named Ahmed and a girl named Amina, were really close. They were both also really, really shy, but wanted to say something to each other, probably, because that's the way of things. The birds and the bees, if you will. An Israeli army junior officer named Simon let Ahmed have his voice just for a second and said, "Hey Amina, hey girl, I really like you." Then another Israeli army officer, a lady one named Ariel, lent her voice to Amina, who was blushing brightly due to the normal processes of putrefaction. Ariel said for Amina, gee, yeah, I really like you too." Amina and Ahmed were already really close, but Ariel and Simon nudged them together even closer, which had the added effect of making the body party even more inclusive for additional bodies. Heckin' awesome. A radio was on in the background playing Jackson 5's I Want You Back, and this made every soul phosphorescent as Ahmed and Amina touched in their little sheets, and Michael's words were on the chapped lips of every Israeli soldier there. "Let me show you, girl, that I know wrong from right, and every street you walk on, I leave tear stains on the ground." That's when the captain of the regiment arrived in a jeep. He was a grandfatherly man with a perpetual frown, who commanded not only this group of soldiers, but also respect. That's right, respect itself. RESPECT. As he approached the body party, the bassoon from Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf started bellowing and everything. Everyone snapped to a stiff attention, except the bodies, of course, who were already stiff because of rigor mortis. The two junior officers saluted and said, "Sir?" The captain glanced around, furrowed his brow, and said, "Turn that music off," then escorted himself down to the body party proper, where he took one long look at Ahmed and Amina and said, "This won't do it all." Ariel, the lady officer, stammered, I, sir, I. The captain sauntered over to a soldier in the regiment, grabbed the cell phone he was holding up, and started to flip through it. The soldier squirmed and became as white as a ghost, as white as the sheet that Ahmed's father, who was also at the body party, was wrapped in. "That kind of music is inappropriate for a wedding," the captain said. And then the two junior officers said in unison, "A wedding, sir?" But before they could say any more, the captain had already pulled up Danny Elfman's soundtrack from The Corpse Bride and started blasting the wedding song. The soldiers were incredulous, but very relieved. The formerly catatonic soldier with the cell phone started breathing again, unlike the bodies at the body party. Soon, cheers spread through the gathered IDF like cholera. "A wedding? A wedding? We're going to have a wedding." There was nervous laughter, as there sometimes is at important festive events, but it loosened after a few minutes. Just like some people throw rice at weddings, the Israeli soldiers started throwing dirt at the revelers attending the body party. Oh no! Amina's combination shroud/wedding dress was getting all dirty. When the body party had disappeared under layers of dust and construction debris, one of the soldiers pointed upwards. "Incoming!" he screamed, and his trembling finger traced the paths of the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, who were descending with haste to question the attendees of the body party about the lives they had led. How rude, thought the captain. "We're here to question the dead about their faith," the angel said, scowling, and immediately the captain knew what this meant. The bodies at the body party were not all necessarily Muslims. That meant that some may not answer the angel's 3 questions about the Islamic faith as expected. And that meant that some would not enter heaven, would be judged harshly and would not enter heaven. All of that to say, these angels were here to literally tear families apart. All of that to say, "Open fire!" And with a wave of his hand, the old captain unleashed a torrent of artillery and small arms at these two diving figures who, let's face it, were more cops than angels. Most of the shots missed, but at the last second, a stream of red molten slugs from the Iron Dome lit up the sky and lashed the two bad dudes, sending them spiraling downward into a nearby hospital. Kaboom! The body party vibed on and on and on, and so on a sore day, a red day, a gosh darn Ruby Tuesday, when our heroic Israeli army regiment was standing in front of a tribunal facing some totally unrelated, totally jummed up war crimes charges, and the officers were fumbling for their words. The old salty dog of a captain got to his feet and said, "This is all a load of animal shit." And when the International Criminal Court Chief Judge Man said, "I'll have respect in this courtroom. This is official international business," that, my friends, is when the captain smiled a wry smile and pointed with his baton. And that is when respect itself smashed through a skylight, rappelled downward into the court chambers, and started breakdancing to DJ Raffi, the only Israeli DJ I could find on Google in a 2-minute search. DJ Raffi is the most popular English-speaking DJ in Jerusalem. This story is now an advertisement for DJ Raffi. DJ Raffi entertains partygoers in Israel and abroad, together with a professional team of DJs, each of whom has a unique talent that distinguishes him or her from the other DJs in the Israeli and international markets. Let's fucking go, DJ Raffi. Let's fucking go, IDF. Oh, and when Respect finished breakdancing, it shot the judge through the head and absolved the Israeli army of all war crimes or whatever at the end.
Man. All right, so I all right, okay. So I I need to talk about the last story first because all right, I gotta get my shit together. I gotta get my shit together. So Here's the thing about that last story that I really like, which is like I was not. Sometimes you'll write something and it'll be absurd, and I'm like laughing throughout. I was not laughing throughout that piece. For most of the piece, there's like this incredible absurd tension between like how ghastly it is and like how silly it is, right? And it's a tension that doesn't necessarily make you like burst out laughing, right? Instead, it like creates this like sickly cognitive dissonance throughout the whole piece, especially because like early on in particular, it's not clear the degree to which this is like a like fantastical magical realist piece and the degree to which it's just some sick shit these soldiers are doing, right? Because you're
Right.
very careful about like not having the corpses like get up and dance or like get up and like instead it's like they're like moving the corpses and like speaking for them. And it like to throw back to Artie's piece, it almost has like vaguely serial killer like Silence of the Lamb vibes, like like they're marionettes or something. And so and so like in that context, the like jovial, bombastic, like shit that's happening in the piece feels so like so fantastically off and so wrong. And I was expecting that tension to persist throughout the piece, but instead but instead, it comes undone in like fabulous fashion where it just becomes more and more absurd. And then when it actually becomes like a straight up advertisement for that DJ, that was the moment that killed me. It's like all the like dissonance and tension and the should I laugh, shouldn't I laugh shit that had been building up throughout the whole piece just explodes because that is like so so fucking trivial, right? It's such a like hard turn that it completely disarms you in a way that I think is I don't know that really it
But
slew me.
DJ Rafa, you have to look at his channel because he's like the best DJ. But sorry to interrupt, but he's so like good, and so is really.
So just just to touch on the other couple of pieces here, the AWP piece, of course, I really love it. Like, of course, I love that like even you had to be like, hey, this is not actually a threat. And I love what you do, even though you didn't read this with the reverse language in the final sentence of the piece where it's ambiguous, like where it, like the line between a threat of violence and a poem is blurred, and the line between like I love the writing as a vibrant, but then you have dying backwards next to it, medium, and kills next to resuscitates. The the way it's almost like hidden subtext or whatever within the poem, like the hidden subtext of AWP is like, yeah, this is a dying
Oh
industry and this is deeply sad. But like when you're there, like
yeah,
presented, like this is wonderful. Like we're all networking. We're gonna make a career of this.
networking. But yeah, shout out to Lewis Carroll there for through the looking glass where everything's reversed and that laser through the
Oh,
looking glass of a sniper rifle.
oh, gotcha. Okay, all right. That I get it.
Yeah, I
I
had to
get
give props to my man photographer Lewis Carroll,
it. Renowned photographer,
who knew a lot about
renowned
looking glass.
family photographer.
Family photographer. Yes.
And just on the Fight Haven one, first of all, it's cool to see you like using a different poetic style than usual. And it's so perfect for this because you're taking something that's like so trivial and so like banal and nasty in the way it's consumed. And like a lesser poem like leans into that and is just like goofy or is like lecturing about it, is like didactic or something. But your willingness to like use the content, first of all, from the actual videos and like present it in this very direct, very stripped down, very sparse way, so that like whether we take it seriously or not, and whether we're smirking during it or not, like it's up to us. Like you even like end each of these sub poems with a question mark, right? Like interpretation is on us. Just like you can watch one of those videos and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, or you can be like, well, that's reprehensible, like, and ultimately the idea that that judgment falls not on the subjects but on the audiences, I think. An interesting like approach to take in this piece, right?
I should say that's an approach that Fight Haven takes to all their videos, because like it'll start like Justified, a man knocks out his girlfriend like in a fit of rage. That will be the title of the video.
Oh my God.
Or like this bitch catches hands from a 300-pound dude. Like, was it worth it? Equal rights, equal lefts, or something like they'll literally do that in their videos. Like that's what makes Fight Haven one of the greatest
That's
shows.
amazing. That's amazing. And I like how you you incorporate that into the poem here. All right, thank you, man.
Thank you.
And you know what? Colton is up next.
Oh shit, I didn't realize. Fuck. Sorry, I'm messaging Adam on Twitter. I sent him a picture and told him that Josh was reading autofiction, and he was like, damn. Jealous I can't be here. Gosh, I have so much to read, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna start with I started reading this book. So it's Haruki Murakami. I'm probably butchering it, but it's his first book, and then you flip it, and then it's the sequel to his first book. But I'm just gonna read the first few pages because it was really like I've had this book for almost a few months, and I was like waiting for the time to read it, and I just started now because I've been having trouble writing about pinball, and so like I don't know, but it's been really inspiring. Shit. Oh, and the name of this book is Hear the Wind Sing. Okay. There's no such thing as a perfect piece of writing, just as there's no such thing as perfect despair. So said a writer I bumped into back when I was a university student. It wasn't until much later that I could grasp his full meaning, but I still found consolation in his words, that there's no such thing as perfect writing. All the same, I despaired whenever I sat down to write. The scope of what I could handle was just too limited. I could write about something about an elephant, let's say, but when it came to the elephant's trainer, I might draw a blank, that kind of thing. I was caught in this bind for 8 years. 8 years. A long time. If one operates on the principle that everything can be a learning experience, then of course aging needn't be so painful. That's what they tell us, anyway. Excuse me. From the age of 20 on, I did my best to live according to that philosophy. As a result, I was cheated and misunderstood, used and abused, time and again. Yet it also brought me many strange experiences. All sorts of people told me their stories. Then they left, never to return, as if I were no more than a bridge they were clattering across. I, however, kept my lips zipped tight. And so the story stayed with me until I entered this, the final year of my 20s. Now I think it's time to tell my story, which doesn't mean, of course, that I have resolved even one of my problems or that I will be somehow different when I finish. I may not have changed at all. In the end, writing is not a full step towards self healing, just a tiny, very tentative move in that direction. All the same, writing honestly is very difficult. The more I try to be honest, the farther my words sink into darkness. Don't take this as an excuse. I promise you, I've told my story as best I can right now. There's nothing to add. Yet I can't help thinking, if all goes well, a time may come, years or even decades from now, when I will discover that myself has been salvaged and redeemed. Then the elephant will return to the veldt, and I will tell the story of the world in words far more beautiful than these. I learned a lot of what I know about my writing from Derek Hartfield. Almost everything, in fact. Unfortunately, as a writer, Hartfield was sterile in the full sense of the word. One is only to read some of his stuff to see that. His prose is mangled, his stories slapdash, his themes juvenile. Yet he was a fighter as few are, a man who used words as weapons. In my opinion, when it comes to sheer combativeness, he should be ranked right up there with the giants of his day, Hemingway and Fitzgerald. Sadly, however, he could never fully grasp exactly what it was he was fighting against. In the final reckoning, I suppose, that's what being sterile is all about. Hartfield waged his fruitless battle for 8 years and 2 months, and then he died. In June 1938, on a sunny Sunday morning, he jumped off the Empire State Building, clutching a portrait of Adolf Hitler in his right hand and an open umbrella in his left hand. Few people noticed, though. He was as ignored in death as he had been in life. I came across a copy of Hartfield's long out-of-print first book during my last summer vacation of junior high, a time marked in my memory by a terrible case of crotch rot. The uncle who gave me the book died in agony 3 years later of intestinal cancer. The last time I saw him, the doctors had hacked him up so badly that he bristled with plastic tubes ferrying fluids in and out of both ends of his body. He was shrunken and his skin had turned reddish brown, so that he resembled a crafty old monkey. I had 3 uncles in total. One died just outside Shanghai 2 years after the end of the Pacific War when he stepped on a landmine he himself had laid. My sole surviving uncle works as a magician on the Japanese hot spring circuit. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this real quick. Hartfield says this about good writing. Writing is, in effect, the act of verifying the distance between us and the things surrounding us. What we need is not sensitivity, but a measuring stick. From What's So Bad About Feeling Good, 1936. I began fearfully scanning the world around me with a measuring stick in hand the year Kennedy was shot, which was 15 years ago now. 15 years spent jettisoning one thing after another. Like an airplane with engine trouble, I started by pitching out the cargo, then the seats, then, finally, the poor flight attendants, getting rid of everything while talking on nothing new at all. Was this the right way? Was this the right way? How the hell should I know? Sure, life is easier like this, but I get scared when I imagine what it will be like to be old and facing death. I mean, what will be left after they incinerate my corpse? Not even a shard of bone. My late grandmother used to say, people with dark hearts have dark dreams. Those whose hearts are even darker can't dream at all. The night she died, the first thing I did was reach out and gently close her eyes. And in that moment, all the dreams she'd seen in her 79 years vanished without a sound. Poof, like a summer shower on hot pavement. Nothing left. Okay, and then there's more, but that's like the first few pages, and I was immediately hooked because it's definitely my. I'm like, I can't believe I haven't been reading him. This next, it's not really a piece. It's just what was in my notes app that I wrote, so like today and a few days ago, and I don't know, I thought it was funny. This is notes from my notes app, February 2024. I know little girls in Mississippi who have 2 fingers on each hand. Angel Soft TP, pizza, cookie dough or cine rolls, beer if you want. Submission guidelines. This is the way of color. If I somehow turn black one day, I'm going to say the N-word so much, like literally every other word, every object, every pronoun, every object pronoun. Smoking outside Sleeping Cat Studios in an alleyway by a black flight of stairs that leads up to the apartment of a sorry son of a bitch who never gets any shut-eye. I am not a good cook. One time I forgot how to make whipped cream when I had to make a bunch on the fly. When I clock into work and get my station ready, I have no idea who I am serving. The customer will never know I prepared their food. I have probably made food for people I hate. The people I hate probably enjoy the stuff that I put on a plate. I'll think about that in perspective. The King of England has cancer in his ass. I finally let my parents be my parents. My parents buy weed from a guy out in Cape Girardeau who sells, that's spelled so wrong. Cape Girardeau, who sells out of an old refurbished Pizza Hut building. It always made me feel insecure when kids in sitcoms sorry, this is like direct copy and paste from my notes app. Made my parents laugh, and I could never make them laugh because my jokes were too toilet humor heavy. It all happened in the year 1974. 2-ounce cheese, half-cut brie, 18 salami dry, 8 to 9 salami cabernet, half 1 cup scoop for nuts. 2 apricots, 2-ounce hot honey, shredded up cheddar for 4 people. So is the Iron Giant a metaphor for the Cold War, like an old man in the sea situation? The picture there is I posted it to Twitter before, but that was a bird that fell from that nest right there, got its leg caught in telephone wire and died, and it inspired this next piece because I don't know, for some weird reason I was like, kind of reminds me of Disco Ball, and so I got this kind of like not sinister is the wrong word, very visceral image of like a personal disco ball of God or something, and but I don't know. This piece was published at Vanity by Cat. If y'all want to check it out, I forgot to post the link, but if anybody wants to post the link in the chat, please do, because I'm not on I'm not prepared. This is Being God's Personal Disco Ball. Ushered to your cushion, lap buttered up and down, coaster soda bubbling, tummy rumbling, lights dim and the previews start. Alpine isomatic machine, Bain Marie filled with scalding water, slices of mortadella and caramelized banana, letting your friends and family kill innocent civilians. General butt naked in his journey towards self-improvement. Call me old school, but I say we keep people in check, not under a boot. Scratched up Radiohead CD, focusing while listening to ELO, requesting a day off for some quality boom shakalaka laka boom time. Wait, is John Travolta in this movie? Yeah, that's him, but hey, who took my pimp cup? Little boy holding a sack of bread, happily skipping towards a small pond filled with ducklings of all shapes and sizes. Duck 1, oh brother, not this asshole again. Duck 2, God, I hate this kid so much. Duck 1, remember when he threw the bread at us and then screamed really loud? Duck 3, what should we do, fellas? Duck 1, his mom is pretty far away. I say we ambush the kid. Duck 2, yeah, let's steal his bread too. Duck 3, y'all need me to shit on him? Duck 1, oh yes, absolutely. Duck 2, let's gank this punk motherfucker. Going to Blockbuster to rent Orgasmo so you can watch it with your friend James. Covering your pointer finger with spit and then sticking it up into the air to see which way the wind is blowing. You looked at me with a face flushed of life, a wretched man in the same situation as me, isolated and disgraced, mind fully altered. I don't remember your name or the names of the others. It was all just rapid decline, coming off the seams, of being hesitant to seek out spotlights. Pioneer Gottlieb, 1976. Send ball into play using first long blue line down. Go for C. Nudge if ball is bouncing on rubbers above bicentennial drop targets. Dig hard as fuck if ball is sent towards center drain. Catch the tip. Morgan Rita lives in Memphis but will probably die in Arkansas. Why are those trees not changing their leaves to fall colors? Because those trees take a little longer to get their colors to change. Why don't they just change their colors faster or something? I don't know, because God made it that way. Shut up, dude. Feeling fate watching the sunrise. I set explosive charges behind my vitals and gave out multiple detonators to the people I love more than life. Background hauntology, memories of Res Publica, traces of unshared spaces, quiet morning breakfast, going home early after school, inputting code 007-373-5963, prairie farms and white cheddar shells, gored and bored, love no more, feeding one's own desire and regret. I only let people inject needles into my arms if I get animal crackers afterwards. That's why I like giving blood. They always make sure you get your animal crackers so you can get your blood sugar up. But if I don't get my am cracks, then I get real upset and cranky. I think that's why I've never injected heroin. You never see those folks eating animal crackers after they shoot up. Nobody home, porn on the Bluetooth speaker. Full disclosure, my nature is non-disclosure. Agreed? Whew, it's a mouthful. Okay, so this piece is a cut piece that I took from another piece and just made it its own thing and went crazy with it. The picture is from my old job. We used to serve, or they still serve, octopus, and so we'd get a full octopus, we'd decapitate it, let it sit out, and then we would press it down and then slice it. But that image, it was paired with the title, as I was looking up Like this piece was inspired by Children of the Corn. Then it went to Medusa because in the first scene of characters playing a pinball machine, and I love pinball, so I had to link some shit, and then Freud got involved. But the main title refers to just Salvador Dali just got a dead octopus, covered it in acid, and just dropped it on a canvas, and that was a piece. It's a really cool piece. I wish I had put it up, but anyways, this is Salvador Dali holding a dead octopus that's been drenched in acid. Shit, I'm gonna drink before I read this shit. Okay. In the early moments of Stephen King's slasher short story turned horror film, Children of the Corn, adaptation by director Fritz Kirsch, 1984, young narrator Job looks over at teen antagonist Malachi, playing the Medusa, Wally Welch Bali, 1981, pinball machine in the back corner of Hanson's Cafe. Malachi is positioned strategically to oversee the incoming massacre of all the adults in the fictional town of Gatlin, Nebraska, whereas Job is unaware of what he is about to witness. Yet he does sense a cruel disturbance in the air. In rural America, there is a deep fascination with worship, in particular the Old Testament, which includes a God that is wrathful, a God that continuously punished his chosen people. As a chosen people, there are many responsibilities and duties that must be performed, in particular the act of worship. There is a feeling of gratitude associated with growing food and offering the first fruits to God. Along with harvesting and the assurance of God's blessing, there is also a fascination which leads to careful inquiry, to a beautiful relationship with the God who oversaw the misdoings in the Garden of Eden. But there is also that limerence that begets delusion, an addiction of worshiping desire. What if this compulsion was rooted in something real, something frightening that lurks in the shadows of nature, of the fields of growing crops? If we investigate the artwork done by Kevin O'Connor on the back glass of the Medusa pin closer, we see that the machine puts you into the perspective of a man turning into stone, having looked deep into the once beautiful mortal's eyes, while other warriors in the scene are in the process of petrification as they surround the cursed Gorgon. Another burp. There we go. Through the radicalism of Malachi and his superior Isaac, the children of Gatlin are turned into a chosen people, an army of stone soldiers. This army is one that both betrays and submits to nature. The metamorphosis of the children is something unnatural, Christ-like. It begs understanding, but also defies science. Nature is no stranger to female infanticide, but it is rare for certain species of children to deliberately kill their parent. See pseudoscorpions, spiders, and nematodes, much less their provider. There's not only a physical transformation going on, but a moral transformation, a generational overthrow, an enchantment of the young in the form of a child death cult. Pinball machines transform people into reactive impulses, the impulses associated with psychotic killers. Arcades are an isolationist escape to practice finger taps in a place where there are different rules and the laws of physics as one fights against a maze of ramps. The image of Medusa herself on the pinball back glows with a corn yellow glow. Shit. Her golden wings keep her suspended over you, the player. But with the background to this tragic combat scene is a blown up image of Medusa's menacing face colored a violet dark pink. Athena's failed version sucks you into permanent death, encompassing not only the tone of the machine, but the tone of the evil in Children of the Corn. That being he who walks behind the rose. Let us consider Freud's mythological interpretations in his posthumous essay Medusa's Head, or Das Medusenhaupt, 1922. Following from Otto Rank's concept of the double in section 2 of The Uncanny, Das Unheimlich, 1919, Freud writes that doubling is the dividing and interchanging of the self, and/or an insurance against the destruction of the ego. From this, Freud takes notice of Medusa's hair made of many snakes, for they are a multiplication of penis symbols, which signifies castration. As Freud asserts, to decapitate equals to castrate. In this castration, an act of decapitation, is a fear that is found in the presence of the vagina, essentially those of his mother, Freud adds further. Medusa, in her representation, is a construct of horror depicted culturally by the Greeks, who were, according to Freud, strongly homosexual. As you plunge into the Medusa pinball machine, you immediately collect Gorgons as an objective for the skill shot. This will increase the value in ripping the spinner that separates the top and bottom playfield. The upper playfield is called Olympus. It features Zeus releasing lightning from his fingertips and lounging about with various women. The lower playfield is called Rhodes, and it features the neck-born white flying stallion Pegasus on the left side, Medusa's decapitated head on a column by the bonus collect lights in the middle below the playfield display, and Perseus on the right side, holding the shield gifted by Athena and the winged sandals gifted by Hermes. Some goals for when the ball rolls onto the Olympus playfield include using the zipper flippers to hit the alternating drop targets and to collect the Olympus bonus by hitting the ball into the saucer, otherwise known as Neptune's Cove. When gravity pulls you down, things change. The objectives for the lower playfield, things change. Okay, objectives for the lower playfield include completing the standing drop targets on the left and right side of the playfield, sending the ball up the orbit lanes, and or adding value to your Medusa bonus before you lose the ball. The only way to prevent the ball from draining down the middle is using the moving Shield of the Gods post. If you can survive and keep the ball in the upper playfield, then the machine will not produce a laughing sound. Rather, the audio feature will challenge you. It will fuel you with a command to defy the gods in saying, "Conquer Olympus." After Job narrates the strange behavior of Malachi and the other children, the camera soon pans to the street window of Hanson's showing not a body, but a head. Zoomed in, we see the sullen face of the mastermind behind the movement, Isaac, eyes colored with possession, waiting to give the go signal for the slaughter to begin. Heads nod, the front door is locked, and a coffee pot with mixed in powdered poison is distributed to all unknowing guests. The adults start to choke and convulse. Children grab their weapons. Malachi abandons the ball in play and pulls out a scimitar knife that was secured to the non-camera facing side of the Medusa machine. He uses it immediately to slit a man's throat. All of the other adults soon perish through different sacrificial methods, including one man whose hand is forced into a meat slicer. In this grand demonstration of ritual murder, the infected madness of a divine field crop entity succeeds in corrupting the children of Gatlin. The flesh of the old generation will be added to the harvest, to the basket of first fruit, as a new generation turns stiff, looks towards pillars of corn for salvation. Originally published in Penthouse magazine in 1977, Children of the Corn is a Midwestern tragedy that claims the lives of two uncounseled lovers, Bert and Vicky, fighting against one another as they drive through Gatlin, known as the nicest little town in Nebraska. Before entering Gatlin, the couple run over a boy whose body and suitcase are thrown into the road from the outskirts of a nearby cornfield. After the traumatized travelers discover the boy's neck had been cut, they start to realize small-town Gatlin harbors an unsettling spirit, a small presence of religious frenzy in a sea of sunshine. As the couple are lured into the town square and local church, the hunt is already taking place, and soon the laughter of the children claim Vicky. Her body is stuffed with corn husks and left as an offering alongside a deceased preacher and skeletal remains of a local police officer, and Bert, who meets his demise at the very hands of he who walks behind the rows, running through the darkness of the cornfield. The original story takes the lives of the protagonists, whereas the film version does not. But it is interesting to note the inclusion of Bowley's Medusa pinball machine in the narrative of Children of the Corn. Beware the accumulation of bonus points. Beware the consequences of seduction by the female gaze. Beware the horror of castration. Fueled by blood, he who walks behind the rows is in a way a manifested fear found in ancient Greece, a cultural horror that Stephen King thrust into a rural small town, published then in a pictorial world of penthouse smut. The harvesting of penis-resembling corn cobs is itself an example of the castration complex. Perhaps reaping the farmland of phallic vegetation is akin to cutting the head of Medusa, returning to what man should be, a homosexual monster hunter like Perseus. In its doubling uncanniness of both harbinger of death and crop harvester, he who walks behind the rows, like Medusa, ensures a looming horror of provoking what Freud calls an apotropaic act of displaying the genitals, which is to say, as Freud suggests, I am not afraid of you. I defy you. I have a penis. And that's it.
Colton, man, I think you read an earlier version of that last piece before, and I love what you've done with it. I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think the like Freudian stuff was as heavy in the earlier version. And
No.
that is it's such a great fit for what you're doing in that piece. Just because of the way that you like the way that you're like camera almost moves around in that piece, like the way that it follows your consciousness and your gaze, like you enter it thinking, oh, this is going to be a piece of like film criticism or whatever about the film Children of the Corn, and it is that. But then I love like the obsessive like pull of the pinball machine, like the moment of hyperfixation, right? Like that's the thing that your attention would be drawn to, and then you work in the Freudian elements, and you think, and just when you, like, as the reader, start to think, oh, this is going to be this kind of stream of consciousness, purely deconstructive thing, no, you start slotting the pieces into place and it all comes together towards something that isn't like a thesis in the, like, in the, like, English composition sense of the term, but is like a series of, like, particularly warped and bizarre insights that I really, really appreciate. Man, also, I love the two poems as well. I love them because both of them are like looser than your work usually is. Like they both feel a little bit more playful and I, Colton, I know because I've edited a number of your pieces that you are a perfectionist, right? You are somebody who is meticulously obsessed with making sure every sentence is right, every word choice is right. I know this because of the sheer number of emails you've sent me, even after we finished publishing, that's like, hey man, this is gonna sound weird, but can you move this comma in this piece? So knowing that, to see you put out two pieces that feel very playful, feel very loose, is a major thing, I think, for you, especially the Notes app piece. I mean, the willingness to be that like raw and unstructured and unfiltered, to really like lean into that sense of like putting writing out into the world and then putting the onus of interpretation on the reader, I think is a cool thing. And man, the Being God's Personal Disco Ball piece, the piece that was published in Vanity, man, I love this piece. I love the duck section of this piece because and like the playfulness of it, the willingness to indulge that kind of fantasy and to think of like what are the like the poor misbegotten kid who's like, I want to feed the ducks. And it just like it works so well because we all know how like inherently perverse and vicious ducks are, and to see that presented in that kind
Yeah, I know by personal experience. My mom would always told me because I can't like remember consciously, but there was a duck by this one pond that we used to walk by, and it fucked with me, man. It knew me, it remembered me, and it fucked with me. I don't know what I did. I don't know what the fuck I did, but just one day this duck decided that I was enemy number one. I was like the suburbanite that he was just wanting to just destroy, I guess. I don't know, but that's where that came from.
Boy, man, this is fantastic stuff. I'm sorry about your experiences with the duck. Anyway, thank you, Colton.
Thank you, William, and thank you, Rudy, and everybody. It was a long, long list of shit of me reading, but I sincerely think that Haruki Murakami would definitely be a Misery Loves Company regular. I mean, I don't know. If y'all ever get to reading something, read his
I
shit.
haven't read
'Cause
any of his work, which is kind of amazing because he is like so popular. I need to like find something and I need to read it.
The craziest shit to me is that his first thing that he got published, he hand wrote it, and he wrote it in English, then translated it back into Japanese.
Wow.
Like, he submitted the written piece, like the written manuscript, submitted it, and if that piece had not been accepted, he would have lost it forever. So it was like,
Holy fuck.
yeah, dude, that's fucking gutsy. That is
That
fucking ballsy.
that's
Like,
unbelievable. I could never, would never. That's insane.
nah, hell no. What the fuck? If I don't have my laptop and my notes app, I'm not doing this shit anymore, man. Fuck that.
Right. No, everything I have is on Google Docs because I don't want to lose it if a hard drive. I've had hard drive failures, I don't want to lose even like
Yeah.
trivial shit. Anyway, thank you, Colton.
Thank you.
And Jan is up next, only it's Brandon because Jan is going to warg into Brandon, I believe. Oh, Jan says, "Grah." Jan. So I guess he's warging.
I don't know anything about this warging shit. As far as I know, wargs are just, big dogs with mange and human-sized brains in their heads, but I can still pull something out of the ether here. Looks like this is called Cat Ladies. All right. Visit the cat lady in your heart, afraid of the alien world, living in senile misery all alone. Go to the self that has seen everything it could ever know and love and rot. The self that knows mankind to be finite, history just a series of epitaphs. The you that has watched a Midwestern empire of a social life collapse, a shuttered Lutheran church in the winter on the flatlands of Wisconsin. Mine is named Mildred and watches sitcoms on repeat, letting electric noise fill the coming long quiet. Life cannot be weighed, only devoured by 13 cats before it decomposes. Youth is death, and I do not want to die young. Lord, take me when my time comes, and let me see all that it is I must see. That was different.
How are you doing, Brandon? You recovered from being warged into?
Yeah, we're good.
Man, Jan, I love that piece, Jan. And Brandon, your delivery was fantastic, by the way, and perfectly suited for the piece. Jan, this piece is like so atmospheric and it's so interesting. Like, first of all, like someday I'm sure my body is going to be eaten by at least a few cats, right? Like, I feel that's the trajectory my life is on anyway. But this like really bleak but also oddly heartfelt ode to the cat lady is I don't know. I think it's really like really well realized. And I love the fact that it doesn't just like stay trapped inside her house. Like there's a more claustrophobic version of this poem that's like fixated just on the filth and the death and decay of cat hoarding. But instead, like it zooms out to show this like desolate Midwestern landscape with the abandoned Lutheran church and then back in and focuses instead of like on the filth of the surroundings, on like the electric noise of the television and like the deep existential loneliness of this experience. And um, I think that's a smart approach. I think in some ways that's a more human approach and a more insightful approach than just being like, man, it must be gross to be a cat hoarder, like to get, because that's something more universal, that the loneliness that drives you to the company of animals in that way, right? Like the isolation from humanity and the desolate way that like manifests itself not only in your own life, but the way it's like emblematic of like the like deeper alienation and loneliness of of our country or of like the Midwest, right? Especially in the winter in this moment where like a lot of us are trapped inside and isolated and alienated. Anyway, the Bones legacy will consume me, Jan says. Yeah, I hope to someday be, I hope Mr. Bones outlives me and has the pleasure of eating my corpse one day. If I could wish for anything, I would wish for that. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Jan. And JH is up next.
Hey guys, can everyone hear me okay?
Perfectly.
All right, cool. I'm gonna read a story called The Actor. The actor, who had become typecast as the murderer in slasher films, returned home after a 12-hour day of swinging a stage axe into highly engineered mannequins wearing blonde wigs. These wigs were made of human hair. The prop master had displayed this fact 3 times to blonde PAs before he told the actor, who had overheard, then had overheard, and then had overheard. Shane, the prop master said to the actor, those wigs are made of real hair. Whoa, real premium shit, the actor said. This may be a live one, the prop master said. The actor was successful in his roles, and not often an asshole. He never apologized, and seemingly didn't ever need an apology. He was reliable, he was consistent. He'd been friends or something like it with 3 or 4 of the right guys at the right time when they were young and lucky and impersonal. He still partied, but mildly, passively, coming along frequently enough, accepting the straw enough, saying something like real cane sugar, all enough to make people feel he wasn't the judge. So he was successful in Hollywood. He was a foremost actor of his type. His home was in Pasadena. He had a 30-year mortgage. The actor parked his Honda. When he got out of the car, he could smell traces of Caro syrup in his hair and on his skin, mixing with the smell of his suburb, the pleasure fires lit in mild California winter, and the fresh outdoor air cooling as the sun went low. In the hall, he was greeted by his wife. She told him that their daughter was having some friends stay over for a sleepover, if that was okay. He said, of course. His wife touched his aching forearm and then swept back her hair. She turned back to the home office. She was a CPA. The actor put his keys and his Penguin Classics edition of the 3 plays by August Strindberg down, which he read between takes on the console table. This is where he put his keys and whatever plays he was reading every evening. The actor walked into the kitchen. The actor, Shane, turned and admired his kitchen. It was clean and modern. He went to his fridge and opened a prebiotic soda. His wife seemed tired. He was worried she was overworked. A fizzing lemon and passion fruit filled his mouth. Shane looked through the glass of the doors that opened from the kitchen into the backyard. There, reflected in the glass, was a smudged version of his masculine face. There was his modest, rectangular swimming pool, over which the fleshy face of the actor floated, and in which an inner tube, made to look like a strawberry sprinkled donut, turned on the currents generated by the filtration and heating system. And there was his red brick fire pit with a neat Lincoln log house of apple wood stacked in the center beneath a black wrought iron mesh dome. and there his grassy backyard, and his wife's collection of succulents and cacti on an area of white stone shaped out by red tile before the fence. The plants in carefully arranged blue pots on hand-painted Mexican tiles. And there, in the far corner, was the wood-board garden shed, which he had built himself using instructions from the internet and a couple $1,000s of tools and wood and stain and sealant and shingle and a perpetually unclosed padlock from Lowe's. Shane heard his daughter and girls shrieking. Shane went into the living room. His teenage daughter sat on the couch watching a horror movie with 4 blonde female teenagers. His daughter turned and looked to him. She smiled. They were in pajamas. They were clutching the couch's throw pillows. The actor said under his breath, "Not more of this shit." He turned back to the kitchen and the French doors leading to the yard and began walking to the garden shed. The actor prepares.
Man, holy shit. I love this story. I really love this story. I love the like anthropological level of detail in this story. Like you do a wonderful thing here, which is you build this like gradual and growing sense of despair, not by like going deep within your protagonist's head, right? But by like sketching out the fine details of his life in this meticulous way and this like wonderfully like obsessively mundane way, and you just feel you like move from one um like banal landscape or like one banal set of images to another in a way that just has this cascading effect, like where we feel like the growing disillusionment and growing despair, and like the details that you like sketch out and that you fixate on here are so like perfectly realized. I love the smell of Caro, like the lingering smell of Caro syrup in his hair from his work earlier with, and I love the stupid banal fucking strawberry donut floaty in the pool. Like there is something so desolate about about like a perfectly square, as you say, like modestly sized suburban swimming pool with just that like awful strawberry donut floaty in it from Walmart, right? And the mention of like the perpetually unlocked shed, and the fact that the lock came from Lowe's, and like there's this like growing sense throughout the piece of like how oppressive the like mundanity of all of this shit is, and like the wonderfully ambiguous ending that almost feels like almost feels like the stepping off point for even a suicide, right? Like that it's like without saying anything, without being direct about what happens next, you get like a real sense of hopelessness in that ambiguous ending. It's good. It's a really fantastic story, man. I really enjoyed it. And and Umberto is next, and I have no idea who actually is. So this is about to be just as much a surprise to me as everyone else. Oh, I can't hear you. Can other people hear him? Oh, okay.
I hear you a little
Okay.
bit.
The mystery is solved. Yeah, I think
Umberto.
your mic might be down low, or you might be a little
Yeah.
ways from the mic. I can see you now, but you might, or maybe your mic is set to the wrong device or something. Or is it just me, guys, or you having trouble
No,
hearing?
I can't hear. He's a little low.
No,
I
no.
heard for a second it come over a little clearer. I think whatever, if you're toggling something, maybe try doing what you just did.
Oh, sorry, man. I still can't hear you. I don't, maybe if you're using like an external mic or something, maybe try unplugging it and plugging it back in or switching to a different device or something. Uh, you're the last one for the night. But we can give you a minute here. I'm not in any hurry. We can give you a minute if you want to toggle around with your settings and then try it again in a second. Uh, Colton says learn sign language. Yeah, I don't, um,
Is there any way like to send what you have to somebody who can read and they can read it for you?
oh, that's also possible. Yeah, I mean, we've had people
The
warn
warg.
people tonight, so no, no, I don't read. I don't even. I barely read my own shit. I won't be reading it, but somebody else can if they want to. Rudy, do you want the honor?
Yes, I will get warged.
Amazing.
Okay, I'm being warged into by Umberto. So I'm gonna read Umberto's piece, also maybe known as Keko. I'm not sure. Uh, anyway, this first one here.
Before you start, is this better now or no?
You're still a little low. Yeah, you're still low.
Rudy, they're telling you to do the accent in the chat.
Oh no, I can't do that. No, I won't be doing that. Sorry. So this first one is called Felony Garment. These kids, their parents, dead of a reckless life, old age, disease, and plain death, saying one too many. Baby, please come back to me. These kids are a handful. Feel like a dozen. Only 7. They from Bremen? Wish they were from Beveren. Dutch over Deutsch. Authority disorder, healthy disorder, audacity disorder, hate disorder. Why do you hate harmony, Gertrude? Is das the liberal? That shone so shinily, liberally. Shone, Gertrude. Why do you hate these kids and spill their tea like a tipsy entrepreneur is piss? All over the knee goddess is. You're just jelly, they have the energy to spit on the walls. If culture is strict, put your prick in it. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun? It's not my fault. I'm like a thunderbolt. Show me your young knee. Germany, Germany. If you think too many, send them to us. Us too. In felony garment with healthy disorder. Plotting how to kill the cult crit. When anyone suffers from any uncertainties, the healthiest kid jumps on the thick trunk of the energy table. I saw the weeping demons lament, our comrades surrounding it as it burst into tears. The grins of our comrades growing into outright laughter, further saddening the demon. Our comrades chose merriment over oxygen, and folks say they had the luxury of dying laughing. Boo! We reject the albumin of the yolk of death. The kids healthily respond. Smite the cult crit. Smite, 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 in the face of death, show your teeth, smile, Negrito.
Man, first of all, Keko, it's so good to have you back, man. Even if your
know.
mic is dysfunctional. And Rudy, you killed it reading that, by the way. Man, I really dig this poem, Keko. And I've missed your style here over the past few weeks because months actually, because like nobody writes shit quite like you do. No one has that like same like manic deconstructive voice to their poems. And like the way you play with language and the way that like it's impossible for me to predict where like what the next word will be in any of your poems because it's so inventive and so wild. And I love like what you've done with the conceit of the like, like reckless youth dying young poem here, like the like rage against the dying of the light kind of poem. Because as I said, it is like so deconstructive. And like on the level of like language here, it's so wild and so inventive and so perfectly suited for that subject matter too, right? Because who wants like a staid kind of like heavily structured poem about kids wilding out, right? Like that doesn't make sense. Instead, like this poem is just as wild in its approach as its subject matter, like it is so it's just as like unhinged and untethered. I love like the heavy use of exclamation points, so like the fact that the poem at many points is literally like enthusiastically yelling at you, it's so perfectly suited to the subject matter. It's a good poem, Keko. It's a great poem, and I'm glad to have you back here.
Dude, that
And
rocked.
yeah, rock guitar, like
I hope, yeah, rock guitar. Yeah, I hope I did you justice, Kego. Man, that was so good. Okay, Germany. Go ahead.
all right, that's it.
Uh,
Oh, sorry. Wait,
uh,
actually, I heard you almost.
you hear me now?
Now I
You're
hear
good.
you.
You're good. Oh no.
Oh, okay,
You're good now.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just trying to like pick a mic that works and
Sick dude.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, great,
I hear
great.
you great.
Rudy, you read it it was perfect. Thanks,
Cool.
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was awesome.
yeah.
It's
Thanks, guys.
good to have
Yeah,
you back, man, and I hope you'll stick around for the after party here.
yeah. Of course, yeah.
All right, so we're going to end it there. This has been a fantastic one. Thank you to everyone who read. Thank you, Cletus. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Artie. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Colton. Thank you, Jan. And thank you, Brandon, for surrendering your body to Jan. Thank you, JH. And thank you, Keko. It's been another fantastic one. It's been a fun evening here. Lots of really wild and interesting pieces. Yeah, it's been a great one. So we do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to. We tweet the link out from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, all one word, and we do that usually right before the show is about to begin. So that's it. Thank you to everyone who read. I'm tired. All right, we're gonna end it there.